reading a short story? Yeah, that. The cold. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Oscar Wilde, The Importance of Being Earnest. We can only deny the truth for so long. Eventually or immediately, it catches up with us. It'll linger in satisfaction, humming with the long-growing anticipation, a predator catching its prey. And prey we are, always up for the chase until we can't, up for the fight until we aren't. As always, we are everything we can be until we can no longer be anymore. I sat around a table in an uncomfortable chair that fit the situation all too well. Curious eyes took hesitant glances, feet were shuffled, and throats were cleared far too often. We were all gathered here in this hymn of clothes, sitting in uncomfortably stiff chairs in a nearly empty coffee shop. The unsaid was teeming and festering, begging us cowards to speak, for us to clear the overly perfumed air surrounding us, to ease its frustration. The smell of vanilla essence and discarded coffee grounds assaulted my nose, the smell of comfort overdone and trying far too hard. And I find myself startled by the loud slam of a glass on the routed table as some of our aforementioned cowardice is discarded. Letting my eyes trail upward from my cup, I see the silent slayer, Emily. Of course, after years of knowing these uncomfortable shuffling mutes, I should know that if anyone were to break the silence, it would be her. Her eyes are fiery, her hair wild, and her face screwed up in fury. Not an uncommon look for her. Her angry face seems to further startle me as I gain enough borrowed courage to look around at the other faces. A face turned with concern, a nearly lost look in his eyes, Avery. The natural doe eyes and pert nose of Rosemary. It was a flawless disguise for her sharp tongue and vitrolic mind. Today, though, those eyes and nose can do nothing to cover her bitterness. Nora's short hair bobbed just above her ears, a befuddled twist of her lips threatening to turn to amusement. Her eyes caught mine, and the look fell, replaced by a stomach-dropping frown. My short-lived near amusement slipped away. Amusement was a dying breed. The predators were taking over, and we would be consumed. My thoughts died. What are we doing here? Emily sneered. Do you even need to ask that? The caustic answer running in my head. But I wouldn't be first to speak. My borrowed courage wasn't enough. A set of padding footsteps, and Emily's question was answered. I asked, and you came. Eyes lazily flipped to each of us. Sinead. All she had to do was ask, and we came. Readily, willingly, and blindly. Emily flustered, her anger stilted. Then she sat back down and closed her eyes. Nora slumped, and Avery slid to the very edge of his seat, his back ruler straight. Sitting in the arm of my chair, she started to speak. Thank you. She tried to meet our eyes, only managing to meet Avery's and my own. Why was she thanking us? We always came. She knew that. But I suppose with everything, even the constant was up for change. Charlotte? All the faces were turned in my direction, and I wasn't quite sure how to answer. It seemed as though my voice had gone unused for so long. Yes, I whispered. My mouth's voice seemed secure, tiny and polite to the point of no return. This place was trying too hard. It seemed dependent upon extremes. Speaking of, I cannot believe you're talking to her, her scowl stabbed, that you have the audacity to even call us here. I don't know where everyone else came, but I came to tell you what a manipulative shrew you are. Emily's outburst chased out the remaining silence from the room. Avery started to avidly defend Sinead, whilst Rosemary had a hushed conversation with Nora, who had started to cry. Meanwhile, as a result of the noise, the barista shifted her eyes to watch us. Sinead went to assure her that everything was okay, and I assumed, from what I heard, to spin a story about some type of tragedy that would ensure the woman's sympathy. I was the only one who was silent. Silent and deadly, they say. Right now, I felt more like silent and pathetic. Everyone was arguing for a reason. They all had a purpose. They were here for the sake of something. Even whimpering Nora, she had a place here, and I didn't. So I did what I think I should have done in every other instance of my life. I stood up, not bothering to notice the eyes that followed me, and walked out without a single glance backwards. I think it's not necessarily true because a man dies for it, Oscar Wilde. When people die, I think that we like to slip into a dream where all the things we swore are broken trinkets and all the things we thought are true become stomped on sandcastles. Everything is no more, and we have today, and not in a nice way. Not in a way that deserves merit and praise, but in a way that needs to be hidden and feared. Shadows tempt us. The pull of it all becomes too much to bear. It becomes a terrible thing, beautifully painful. A shot of stained glass lodged in your gut, so terrible and so pretty, shimmering in the sun. You need to pull it out, and you cannot bear to make yourself do it. You simply can't help but admire its beauty as you bleed out. All the beautiful things are deadly. I had hoped, against my better judgment and my predecided constitution, that someone would chase me out into the rain. It was pouring. Fat drops slipped down from every surface, slickening it whilst adding to the puddles. A few seconds and I would be soaked. A few seconds, a few minutes, hours, days, what did it matter? All I had was broken or fallen. I turned on my heel and rushed for cover. I was in a sheltered stone archway. No one had left yet, and I wondered what they were doing, what they were saying. What else could I do? I was an expert at lurking the past, haunting the remainders, and dwelling on everything I shouldn't. And I was reminded of the thought I hadn't thought much of until now. My dear, find what you love and let it kill you. Let it drain you of your all. Let it cling onto your back and weigh you down into eventual nothingness. Let it kill you and devour your remains. For all the things will kill you both slowly and fastly, but it's much better to be killed by a lover. We were letting our love kill us all, torn and shredded until only ribbon and string were left. Just next door, they were tearing each other apart for his love. He was wrecking us even now. We were all dying and screaming and pounding at the walls, and we were no better than him, no better than the boy, the child, who had torn apart our lives. We were his devotees because he asked. He caressed and cut us out, loving us tender until we were complete. Then he laughed and yanked us apart. We sat and we stood and we screamed because we had to beseech him. All he had to say was please. Please caress, please scream, please run, please stay, please bleed, please fight, please die. All said with a gentle caress of his words, and we were captive. No more, he had begged, but we still kept going. We still kept him close, and then in the most awful way, a way we had never wished upon him aloud, he left. My sentiments had weighed on me for so long that a number of words wouldn't come to mind when I thought about him, and the ones that did weren't meant to be said about the dead. But a word I could say was bittersweet. His death provided us with release, and we couldn't help but miss him. Once I'd had enough of my poetic pondering in the rain, everything had become so authentic it felt almost cheap. I scampered back into the shop from which I had just fled. How long had I been gone? They hadn't left. What if I was too late? I know people always say better late than never, but those people haven't a clue. It would be so much easier and wiser to just recognize your tardiness and instead of returning in the face of it, crawl away from it and never, ever return. My pride was shredded in the face of this little teetering situation. I suppose that I knew I was going back in, I just didn't want to. So I pushed open the door and found 5 silent people sitting in uncomfortable chairs and a spying, shifty-eyed barista. Silence, what emptiness you allow. I could see the eyes on me now, and I couldn't tell what they were thinking. We hadn't settled back into shuffling feet and concealed glances, but we were no longer the clamorous, unsettling sight and sounds we were earlier. Eyes met, but no longer shifted. Throats weren't cleared without purpose. We can't pretend anymore. We've done so for too long now, Sinead really pointed out. I just can't cope anymore, began Nora. I can't deal with this. The conversation was starting, a rolling stone. It was starting, and I had stormed it, and I haven't even said a word yet. I think we have to talk about everything before anyone else, theorized Avery. Are you kidding me? I was no longer silent, nor would I be till I was done. You must be, because Avery, even you aren't stupid enough to think that. You couldn't have been this damn blind, could you? Everybody here is a pawn in the fucking game of chess from hell, I retorted. I wouldn't say that, Rosemary faltered, and I never let her get to me that thought. We have to talk about it, I taunted. I just can't cope. I'm sure you're not the only one, Nora, acting like you're the only one suffering, sobbing while they fight. And what were you doing, Acting like a mime, and you look terrified just at the thought of looking at us, Emily objected. Just like her, to think that silence is equivalent to fear, that if you aren't crawling along with the rest, then you must be terrified. I almost laughed. I suppose that I could have expected no better. She never saw past her own nose in these matters. She was a mole in the light, blind to the point of rabid amusement for her spectators. Revoilà, Emily, I wasn't fighting. I couldn't help but let this cheap sarcasm slip out. I was with each idiots, fighting over empty air. For each other, I slid a pointed look at Avery, who had the propriety to turn his head down, fighting for a dead man's affection. Everything was humming, in anticipation, in doubt, and surely in fear. I had said the words, I had said them aloud. They were hard to take back in the harshest of reality, harder to take back when that reality just assures you that it's true. The sting of my final words left my mouth in a lilt that had us all breathless and choking. It was brisk and raw, a breeze of wintry air that sucked out our lungs. Shivering, we huddled together in our shock. We were all left in the cold.